Hey guys, we're here with Dr. Malone. Again, Dr. Malone has been an immense resource for all of us on social media and in the office to help us interpret all the stuff about the virus. And now that Omicron, I'm here in Miami, Florida. I was at the Miami office today, and obviously the virus is pretty prolific down here. It's a lot more prolific than it is the Omicron strand is. There's testing on street corners. A lot of masking down here, a fair amount of tourists that are not vaccinated. So there's that issue. And then, every airline, especially if it's an international airline, requires that you be vaccinated and show proof of a negative COVID test before you can board a plane. So imagine all the international flights. I mean, you don't have to be in Miami long enough to watch all the international flights that are taken off from Miami International Airport, pretty much every 10 minutes or less during the daytime. All those people have to have negative PCR tests. So you'll see street corners with people lined up for free COVID-19 PCR and antigen tests so they can either report to their employer that they're not positive or that they can take with them to the airline. But anyway, all that being said, I think Miami is probably, a week or two ahead of us in Pensacola as far as the curve is concerned. We've seen that historically. I wanted Dr. Malone to come back and give us an update from last week. We had some comments on the Omicron variant last week, and I wanted him to put things in perspective this week for us. Dr. Malone, what do you have for us?
Okay, so you had mentioned Dade County, and so what you're referring to is, I'm going to share this real quick. And well, first of all, we're looking at the numbers here where, as a state, we jumped from just under 30,000 to 125,000 the week leading into Christmas. So we'll get a new release. I expect one tomorrow, provided that there's no holiday delay. If not, I'll come through the weekend. But what Joe was mentioning is Dade County here, where Joe's at. If you look all the way over to the right, they had 52,000 new diagnoses last week. A couple lines below that is Escambia, we had 544. The percent positivity is still above 10% for both counties. So if we do see the wave, it's going to come through to Escambia, not to the degree of 50,000, but that 500 is going to look small probably in the next week or two. So what can you do? And so we started researching this a little bit more and kind of trying to stay up to date on some of the more recent studies. And as we've said multiple times, getting vaccinated, getting boosted is what you can do. And I found a graphic that we shared in the office this week among everybody here. And we'll also link this here for you. And I'm going to show you the bottom. It's the Omicron, where if you have 2 doses of your mRNA vaccine, they're showing that there's 20% coverage. So the bottom, where there's like 8 little white, I guess, little emoji people, those are the breakthroughs. They're getting infected with 2 doses. You get a 3rd dose of the booster and you're covered. Okay, so that's the mRNA booster. That's the difference that these things are making. So if you can get boosted, get it, and you'll get boosted at, today, you're covered in a couple of weeks. And if, as Joe mentioned, if there's that lag in the wave that we might see, you can get ahead of it and get some coverage. Okay, so the booster is certainly the way to go, mRNA booster. The other thing that I'll also show you, and this came out today, you'll see it in the news most likely, is Lancet put out, I guess, a preprint. And it's something that, wrong one, sorry. Lancet put out a preprint, and it is what the effect was in South Africa of how ill people were. And I'm going to find the one graphic here for us, just a second. Right here. And I don't know if you can see that, Joe, where you're at, but there's three waves on here. Back in July of 2020, and then December 2020, and then the Delta wave in August, and then the most recent wave, the Omicron wave, is like a little spike at the end. The important thing is the gray and the red underneath it didn't jump up, and that's the hospitalizations and the deaths. And this is South Africa, where Omicron started. So that is reassuring. It still means that people are getting sick and being hospitalized, but they're not dying. Okay, the number is tamped down, and whether it's from immunity in the community or people that have immunity from prior infections, vaccinations, you name it, or the fact that this variant is not as angry. Okay, it doesn't infect the lung cells as badly and cause that viral pneumonia that is what was causing people to be ventilator dependent and to die. So that's kind of the mix from today's stuff. And again, we'll link this as we always do. Locally, there are plenty of anecdotes of people getting tested. It's kind of like Joe mentioned, he's in Dade County. We're starting to see that here. The city and the county testing sites are opening back up and offering the free testing. So I would encourage that. Also, something that is different than when we had some of these other, even at the start of Delta, we did not have the home testing like we do now. And so, for instance, I personally had Delta, and when I got my diagnosis, I didn't have the ability to have a home test. So now there's home tests out there. So the caution is follow the directions on the home test, make sure you're doing it correctly. If your symptoms don't line up and you say, oh, I have a negative home test, it means a couple of things. One, you may have done the test wrong. Two, you may still have the virus and you need a retest. And so it's either follow up and get a full PCR or retest. And that's why these tests are sold in packs of 2. You're supposed to serially test. So you do one test and you wait 36 hours, you do another test to say, did I pop positive on that second test? In the meantime, treat yourself like you're positive. So
all right, I have a question for the naysayers.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing with Omicron, which is a variant of COVID, right?
Yep.
And I think the science is in that the Omicron variant does not cause the deaths that the wild strand caused, or that the Delta.
Beta and Delta.
Yeah. So what about this argument? Well, wait a minute. The common flu actually causes deaths every year too. And what's the difference between the common flu, the dangers associated with the common flu, and the dangers associated with Omicron? Like, because they seem to have, are they not similar in terms of mortality and risk? And if they are similar, why are we focusing so much on Omicron and worried about it if it really has got a mortality threat equal to or maybe even less than the common flu?
That's a good question. And I guess if we knew for sure it was Omicron that was infecting people, then yeah, you wouldn't be worried as much. So we're talking about Florida right now. We're talking about Miami and Pensacola. Talk about the East Coast, New York. You don't know if you're getting Delta or Omicron when you get it. So if you have the unlucky draw and getting Delta, you could get sick. So if you ignore and say, oh, I just had Omicron, and you end up real sick, and you're spreading that to other people. So there is a mix of Delta and Omicron in certain parts of the country, mainly like the Northeast, the Atlantic coast. Down here, I guess we're fortunate, if you want to use that term, to say, hey, it's Omicron. And so, yeah, you're going to have the sniffles and that's it. You still need to make sure you don't pass this on to someone who is not prepared for it. Either they have some immunocompromised state, they haven't had whatever opportunity to get their booster shot. And we've already went through this where if you want to get boosted, you can get boosted. Okay, so that's on you. But so I still think that there's some measure that you can take to try and control the things that are in our control. We're again speaking in the office here today a little bit. We're hearing some of these anecdotes of people getting testing positive, and not locally, but someone tested positive, and it was like Atlantic coastline somewhere. And I was like, well, they don't know if they got Delta or Omicron. We don't know which one it is. So treat yourself like it could be as bad as Delta.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Dr. Malone. If you have questions, y'all can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. We're obviously working over the holidays on our personal injury cases. So if you need us for any personal injury case, you can find us at those places on the web, or call us at the phone number there. Y'all take care. Thank you, Dr. Malone. Appreciate it.